Right to Work looks like it will head to the state's highest court. A ruling by a Lake County judge says most of the law is unconstitutional. But the state's attorney general is pushing it along to the Indiana Supreme Court for what could be one final ruling on the controversial law. Plus, the push to kickstart education in Indiana at a younger age. Democrats lay out a plan for the state to do more for early education. These topics and much more, all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Rafael Sanchez. We begin with that surprise ruling on Indiana's law known as Right to Work. A Lake County judge has ruled the law violates Indiana's Constitution. But the legal fight is far from over on this controversial bill. RTV6's Jenna Coy starts us off this morning.
I think it's a great day for working men and women.
Indiana's AFL-CIO union is celebrating the recent ruling that the state's new right-to-work law is unconstitutional.
Indiana's right-to-work law is nothing more than an attempt to lower wages, roll back worker safety provisions, and silence men and women's voice on the job.
A Lake County Superior Court judge looked at the part of the law that requires unions to represent workers who do not pay union dues. The judge ruled that section violates a provision in the state constitution that bars the state from requiring a person's services, in this case the union, without just compensation, in this case dues. The AFL-CIO's spokesperson says to see how bad this right-to-work law is, just look at the roughly 20 states that have one.
You've seen lower wages, more worker death, and other poor economic performance. And that's why so many Hoosiers have risen up over the last several years to fight this bad law.
And the fight is far from over. Attorney General Greg Zeller says he will appeal the ruling directly to the state Supreme Court and, quote, will aggressively defend the authority of the people's elected representatives in the legislature as we successfully defended this same statute from the same plaintiff who challenged it in federal court.
State officials have already started that appeal process, filing notice with Indiana's Supreme Court. There's no timeline on when the court might decide if it will hear the case. Our political insiders are now on deck. Democrat Kip 2 and Republican conservative, libertarian, who do I call
whatever I am today.
IndyPolitics.org. We have so many things, but what do we see on this issue? Will this fly at all?
Well, you know, I think legal experts are obviously conflicted about what's going to happen in the Indiana Supreme Court if they take the case on direct appeal or not. I think it's a couple of things need to be noted here that are very important. The judge who made this decision was actually appointed by Governor Mitch Daniels, and I think that should give the decision a little bit more weight than just to throw it out as a partisan judge from Lake County did this. It's a respected judge who was appointed by a Republican governor who signed the bill into law on right to work. So I think that there's some serious questions here about the legality of right to work. The theory that the judge used was that the unions were required to give non-union members the benefit of their services, which is basically on their behalf, representing them on their behalf, and the judge said that that's making them do work without compensation, and it violates Indiana's Constitution. I don't have a great deal of faith that the Indiana Supreme Court is going to rule in our way, but I think it's a good move forward.
That is actually the most intelligent thing you've said.
But a federal court has already said that the law is good as is, right?
Right. The unions tried to fight this at the federal level. They got smacked down. They're trying to fight this at the Supreme Court level. And while you can never predict what a court is going to do, it seems to me very unlikely. And the unions got it wrong. No one is forcing them to represent all the workers in the workplace. When under the National Labor Relations Board Act, when a union decides to get certified, they can decide whether they just want to represent members or represent everybody in the workplace. So the union has that choice to do that when the union gets started. So it's the union who decided to defend these folks. No one is making the union do anything.
Is there still a passion for this issue? We saw the throngs of workers that came out to the State House, the days of protest. Will we see this again on Organization Day coming up in November or in January? Are people...
Only if they can bust a man from out of state, which is where most of those guys came from anyway.
That's a ridiculous statement. It really is. I mean, there are lots of union members in this state, lots of union members who are quite upset with the decision that was made. And, I mean, let's get to the heart of the matter. And the what Republicans argued was the reason for right to work was to make this state more amenable to business. We haven't seen an increase in job growth because of it. We haven't seen any of the things that they predicted would come to fruition for it. The only thing that has happened is wages are still stagnant, jobs are still not being created in the state of Indiana. The only purpose for the law was to try to break the unions and break the Democratic constituency group. That much they went a long way to accomplish.
When you compare Indiana at the national level with respect to job creation, job growth, Indiana is one of the top 10 states in the nation.
But is that
That's
to do with
just
right
not
to
true.
work? But is that to do with
That's
right
just
to
not
work?
true.
Or does it have to do with the fact that we have a good climate for business? I mean, does right...
I would argue it's all of the above. And right to work helps. But right to work is another tool in the toolbox to attract jobs and bring jobs here.
And it hasn't done that.
It's that simple.
It just hasn't done that. I mean, they can't cite one company who said, I've come here because of right to work. It just hasn't happened. What has happened is it drives down wages and it leads to less economic opportunity for everybody. It is a bad law.
But here's something.
And hopefully the United States Supreme Court or the Indiana Supreme Court is going to follow the ruling of Lake County Judge.
But something else to think about is when a company says we came here for right to work, the first thing the unions will do is slap them with an unfair labor practice. When Boeing out of Seattle decided it was going to move a plant from Washington State to South Carolina because South Carolina was a right to work state, the first thing the unions did was haul them before the NLRB, and they had to spend a whole bunch of time and energy and resources fighting that. I mean, right to work is, like I said, it's just one of the many tools in the toolbox. And by the way, show me where union membership has declined in Indiana.
They've hung strong.
Since right to work
but the money's been harder to come by for the unions because of it, and that's exactly what it was for.
Well, maybe if unions were doing their job, people would willingly contribute.
You know it, and I know it. The whole purpose was to dry up Democratic money.
Talking about the politics of it all, right? The last time we had this debate, I remember covering when Democrats went to Illinois to try to stop this issue. But now we know that what will happen in the State House? At the end of the day, right, we still have a supermajority. Right. You don't like that term, but that's a term I normally use.
Well, it is a supermajority. I mean, they do not have the right to if they walk out, it has no effect because the Republicans have enough to conduct business, and so that's what we're talking about there. Look, the issue's not going to be probably at the legislature. Democrats will probably have a bill to repeal it, but it probably won't get a hearing. If it gets a hearing, I'd be stunned, and so that issue won't come up. But I think I'm hearing rumors that prevailing wage is going to be a big issue this next session, which will cause the union folks to come out.
If the unions were going to have this big impact that would have had in 2012, and they'd have given Democrats the legislature instead of a Republican quorum-proof supermajority.
And you think the Supreme Court will hear this case?
Whenever a statute is found unconstitutional, it's sort of automatic that the Supreme Court takes a look at it and makes a decision.
So that's a yes.
I think they'll hear it now. Well, how they rule, I have no idea.
All right, well, fair enough. We have more from our political insiders coming up, including more changes to education in Indiana, and also the very latest involving Indiana's former schools chief, Tony Bennett, and a possible investigation. That story and more coming up on Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. We continue our conversation with our political insiders. Tony Bennett, the former schools chief of Indiana, the Associated Press later last week, talking about another possible investigation regarding fundraising lists, campaign materials that were possibly on the Department of Education server. Will this story ever end?
Oh, I guess it depends on when the Ritz folks stop leaking emails. A couple things to keep in.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that Glenda Ritz, the current
Superintendent of Public Instruction, do I believe that her staff basically went data mining, looked for anything and everything they could find to discredit Tony Bennett to go after education reform? Yeah.
Okay. So you believe this is a calculated...
Yes. Because it's much easier to go after Tony Bennett as a target as opposed to do things like get ISEP test scores out on time, release iRead results, get things to the legislature that the legislature needs to do.
Let me just hold you up on that. Just
sure.
In fairness to her, those ISEP scores did not come out on time because CTV McGraw-Hill messed up the system. So in fairness on that issue, it was not a Glenda Ritz issue. It is an issue with the vendor. Right? I mean, am I correct on that? Or are you going to?
I think he asked me the question. If that's okay.
Can you answer the question?
Sure. I'll be more than happy to. Oh my God, we have to. These ISEP test scores won't be any good. We have to throw out the whole system. This is about high-stake testing. What happens? We'll come back with CTB McGraw-Hill. The impact was negligible. The test scores actually went up, so maybe high-stakes testing isn't all that bad.
But there was a delay because of that, right? But there was a delay because of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you have the facts on your side, you argue the facts. When you have the law on your side, you argue the law. When you have neither of them, you pound the table. That's what these guys are doing. The facts are what were in the emails. The emails revealed what Tony Bennett was really up to. The emails revealed possible criminal activity, and there should be an investigation. Look, politicians, I'll say this as a caveat, politicians all the time it's a very very fine line between what's campaigning and what is doing your job or defending what you do. And I think that Tony Bennett deserves his time to make his argument about whether he was campaigning while he was in office or whether he was doing his job. And those things are fine lines. But putting on the state's server your database for fundraising is clearly on the other side of that line.
Well,
let me finish.
Yes, you did. I'll be happy to respond.
If that allegation is true and that's something he or someone on his staff did, that's a serious allegation that needs to be fully investigated.
But you know as well as I do, Kip, that a list of donors on a computer does not automatically turn into ghost payrolling. Under state statute, all lawmakers are allowed a certain amount of de minimis use of government equipment for what's personal, whether it's...
So what would it be there?
Here's a question. But here's the question, though. Were there any phone records that showed that they made any donor calls on state time? All you have is just a list on a computer, which I will not say is a good thing. I mean, you should have...
And I think he has spoken to this issue, saying that he was sending notes, I think, to some of the people. I believe is what I read somewhere. But why would they be there anyway? I mean, knowing all the rules and knowing that emails will get you in trouble and that people are looking...
Every politician I've ever worked for has a separate computer for their political stuff from their state stuff. It's basic 101 understanding how to do this stuff, and you don't put it on. You don't put any of that kind of stuff on a state computer.
And I would agree, you don't put it on a state computer, but the fact that it's on a state computer does not mean they were... Where were the email? Where were the phone records at of these thousands and thousands of emails and exchanges of 4 years in office showing they made one phone call on state time to a donor, either to solicit money or raise or say thank you?
I don't know where the investigation may lead on that.
Because you would think that with all the investigation going on, that somebody would have had a phone record somewhere saying, look, they called this donor on this day, raising this money on government time, and there was not one phone call.
Well, you don't know that. I mean, the investigation's just beginning with respect to that, but it's almost it's kind of beside the point. I mean, you're setting up a red herring. The fact is, his donor base is on the state server. That in itself is a problem.
And we don't know
whether or not any phone calls are made off of it or not. That in itself is a problem.
And you will not find me defend that. The question is, when we say before we say people are engaged in ghost payrolling, let's go. Except the thousands of emails, the tons of hours, about criminal investigation, grand jury, and haul the guy off to jail.
We don't know what the Inspector General is investigating. We do know that. We do know. Can I finish?
Sure.
We do know that Mr. Bennett did send. He did send the Inspector General a letter on August the 1st saying, "Hey, check out the accusations related to the grading scandal." So he could be investigating that.
Yeah, and the people
whatever he wants.
Right, and the people
that's
accused
much more important than this other investigation. The A through F situation, it was messed up from the start.
And
the report that the legislature asked for. Let me finish. And the report that the legislature asked for. If people read the report, like I said last week, read the report. Big problems with A through F. The report said there were big problems.
But the people who accused Tony Bennett of wrongdoing and alleged criminal activity in the whole A through F scandal, they were going to be wrong on A through F. They're going to find they'd be wrong on this one.
I'm glad you talked about early education. Education as a whole.
We can get there eventually.
Nice segue.
Because Senate Democrats want to expand early education. Will this work? Do we have the money for it?
Well, we should make the money for it. It is the best investment you can make. Every single study across the country, across the world says the best investment you can make is with early childhood education. All the reforms that we've done over the past 20 years in the state of Indiana pale in comparison to be able to do this. If you do this, you have the most positive impact long-term for kids. It's long overdue. We started talking about it in the O'Bannon administration. We went through 2 administrations now and haven't done it. We are long past time when we ought to do it.
So you're pounding the desk. See, here's a problem with what the Democrats want to do. No one has a problem with early child education. The question is, will you make it mandatory? Because if you set it up where it's just simply voluntary, all you do is get the parents who care, get their kids in early childhood education, the parents who don't. Because the problem with kindergarten has always been that by the time a kid gets to the 3rd grade, the progress made in kindergarten tends to disappear. Because you know why? You have parents who didn't put their kids in kindergarten, you've mixed all the kids together, and the teacher had to slow down the class to catch up with the kids who didn't get there. So if you're going to do early childhood education, fine, but you're probably going to have to make it mandatory, and that's going to raise a whole big stink here in Indiana.
Some rapid questions. On the local front and the city county council, Democrats said no to the homestead credit tax. In essence, telling the mayor again, hold off on the budget. Will that ever shake out?
Yeah, it'll shake out. There'll be some sort of agreement here at the end. I don't know what it's going to be, but the mayor's going to have to give some ground that he has been unwilling to do.
The mayor's actually given ground. He's given ground on two things. He's said to stretch out the phase out over 2 years. Take some money from the fiscal stability fund to help pay for it and cover costs. The mayor has moved on this. The Democrats haven't moved because, as usual, they have no plan.
On Thursday, the Congress, for the 41st time, the Republicans in the Congress voted on Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act. Should we care? Should they give up? Should they continue the struggle? What should happen on this issue?
Well, we found out this week with the announcement by IU Health that they're laying off 800 people, that it has real impact here in the state of Indiana, that when Governor Mike Pence and the legislature refused to expand Medicaid here in the state, people's jobs were lost. This head of the Indiana Hospital Association said this is going to create jobs.
Are you blaming the governor?
No, but he does say what a create jobs, said it would support jobs.
I believe that IU Health is looking out there at the what's coming up, and the fact that we didn't expand it, said we're going to have to cut back. Yes,
but you're blaming the governor.
The governor should have passed and gone along with every other state here in the Midwest the expansion. Yes, I do.
No, but
does he have a right to blame the governor for this?
No, that's insane. And here's why. If you go back and
insane.
Yes, because I like you.
You have 30 seconds, so wrap it up.
Okay. If you look at what the folks at IU said, part of the reason why they're laying off people because of reimbursements from the federal government. If you think that expanding Medicaid for 3 years and then the federal government scaling back its contribution 90% is going to be a good idea, you're looking at the impact of the Obamacare and the American Affordable Care Act right in the face. You think this is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. How's that?
I mean, the facts are the facts. The Hospital Association president said that this would expand jobs in the healthcare industry.
He did not say it would expand, he said it would support. It would not expand. He said it would not expand jobs, said it would support jobs that are already in existence.
And now they're gone.
There's a lot of love here, believe me. On Sunday, these
there really is.
They are the best of the business. Democrat Kip 2 and Abdul Hakim Shabazz with IndyPolitics.org. The conversation between our insiders doesn't end here. You can join in with them on Twitter. Check out their Twitter handles and give us your opinion. And stay up with Kip and Abdul, Lara, and Jennifer throughout the week. Indianapolis This Week continues after the break. For the past 3 days, we've been celebrating Irish Fest Indianapolis. Well, next weekend, Fiesta Indianapolis is back for its 33rd year. Pavel Polanco-Zafadil is with the organizers at La Plaza. It's going to be an exciting time at the American Legion Mall. What can we expect in year 33?
Well, thanks for having me here and having La Plaza here in your show. We can expect a lot of variety of cultures from Latin America. We're going to have music, art, passports, food, you name it. Everything that comes, with the culture is going to be there.
One of the new things you are doing, you're talking about this passport, and you want people to sort of get a fake passport.
Yep.
And to go from booth to booth. How will that work?
Well, we're representing a few countries this year, including Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Argentina. So all of those countries are going to have a booth. So the students other students or the young learners are going to go booth by booth, with a passport. They're going to get a stamp on it, and they're going to learn about their culture, music, art, and everything.
It is a major cultural event, also a lot of music. You mentioned food of all kinds from all the different countries. But this program also helps La Plaza, which is a community organization that helps other people. So this is a big fundraiser for you as well, right?
It's the biggest one.
Right, and all the money goes to La Plaza.
Yeah, and then from that, then we just, we help a lot of people through education and social services.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that La Plaza does invest in is in young people. You have a lot of programs that focus on getting kids through high school and into college.
Mm-hmm. And you have been a great, sponsor of it, speaking to the kids that we have, when we took them to the college there.
Sure. And we know that Kevin Gregory, our meteorologist, is telling us we're going to have great weather.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
right? Yes.
21st.
Yeah, that's good.
You're going to be throughout the entire American Legion Mall. It's really open. It's free.
It is completely free. It's one of those, festivals that is completely free. It has been, like you said, for 33 years here. And it's the largest Latino festival in the state of Indiana.
And so on Friday we'll start, as you can see, there's also a parade of all the different countries. We celebrate not only being proud Americans, you can see some people dancing, but also a lot of music. And you'll be part of some of the music as well, right?
I will be. I'll be playing there with my group Direct Contact. And there'll be other people like Ipanema, which is Grupo Ipanema, which is a Brazilian group. There is also going to be some dance like Ian Xiao with Into Salsa, Hombres Sin Nombres, Clave Uno, even Guadalajara is going to be there, and Mariachi Azteca is going to be there. We have Flamenco Le.
And if you have young families,
Bembe, yeah.
We have a lot of musical acts. There's a lot of the young kids running through many of the children activities. There'll be things for children to do as well. So this is really for all ages.
It's for all ages. It's all day long, from noon to 10 o'clock, Saturday, the 21st of September.
Now, let me ask you this question, since you are so musical. If people show up, will you help them dance with the music?
I will. I definitely will.
So you have all the moves.
I have all the moves. I have.
So you're going to tell camera 3 there that you're ready to teach him with the dancing.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah.
He will be your official dancing instructor. He will get you ready for the premiere of Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, definitely. And now, if you want to come at 2 o'clock, you can see Rafael Sanchez right there.
Yeah,
You're going to be dancing, right?
But I will not be dancing. Again, the 33rd Annual Fiesta Indianapolis, a collection and celebration of Latino culture in the Hoosier State, will happen Saturday, September the 21st from noon to 10 on the American Legion Mall in downtown Indianapolis. And here's another festival happening in Indianapolis that's going on today. We're talking about the Irish Fest, and after the break, a preview of what they've planned for their final day. Today marks the final day of Irish Fest in downtown Indianapolis, a day full of events at Military Park. There are 4 stages that will feature live music all day beginning at 10:30 this morning. The price for adults at the gate is $15 per person, and kids 13 and under are free. And this reminder, just about 1 hour away from an ABC News exclusive, President Obama in an exclusive one-on-one interview with George Stephanopoulos, the president's first since his address to the nation on Syria. You can see that at 9 a.m. right here on RTV6. And thanks for joining us. You can see a rebroadcast of today's program on HTSN at 5 p.m. And you can always find us on our website, theindychannel.com. Look in the video section. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Have a great Sunday.